And now it's time for Church Chat.
Greetings, everyone, and hello, Shane. We're here for another edition of our Church Chat to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening at St. John's, in the community, and in the wider church. Beginning at the local level, very close to home, Shane, you had occasion to visit the interior of our parish church earlier this week, and wonder if you might tell us a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, I had to stop by the church to pick up a bit of paperwork, and I hadn't been in the church building since before these measures to try and control the pandemic came into effect. And so I walked into the building, and it was morning, so the light was coming in through the stained glass windows, but it was otherwise quiet and empty. And I just stood there for a minute and looked down the center aisle up towards the altar, and kind of just reflected for a minute that, the building is still there waiting to invite the church back in. And we know that day will come. I'm not sure exactly when, but it was a little reassuring for me to know that place that's so important for the church to gather is there and waiting and for us.
It's certainly quite an experience to enter that wonderful building at this time. There's a pain that comes with it, certainly, a longing for gathering. But there's also a feeling that I have, and maybe many of the people watching this have had similar feelings when they've entered into empty churches, that somehow the place is just saturated and heavy with all of the prayers of all of the generations. It's hard to describe, but you know it when you feel it. And there have been a few times when I've thought about that, and it's really something to be thankful for. A deeply moving experience. So yeah, I've had occasion to be in the church building a number of times. I've gone in there to pray my office and to pray before the sacrament in the tabernacle, and there to really reflect how God is present in the Eucharist, how God is present in the building and in the hearts of the faithful. So we long for the day when we can return all together and get a few more prayers into the beams so future generations can have that same experience, certainly. Speaking of prayers, this fourth Sunday of Easter, the Anglican Church of Canada has treated as Vocations Sunday for some years. This is an opportunity for Anglicans across the country to pray for increased vocations to holy orders, to religious orders, and also, just as importantly, for all lay ministers, and a sense of the common call that we have in baptism to live out our vocation, the call that God places on our lives, to be faithful stewards, to be faithful ministers in this generation. So please do, in your prayers this week, include prayers for vocations to the ordered ministry, to religious life, and also for all lay ministers, many of whom are working as hard as they've ever worked. I saw a meme that was going around on social media amongst some of my clergy friends that said, how is it that when the building is closed, the work seems just as great as ever, essentially? I'm paraphrasing. But that's true, and I know that a lot of people involved in ministry are feeling that way. So do pray for an increase in vocations, and we're going to link on the screen right now. There'll be a link, and in the description below, to some information about some of the religious communities within the Anglican Church of Canada. If you don't know about a lot of them, these are monks and nuns, brothers and sisters in the Anglican tradition. And do some reading about these communities who are faithful and wonderful, stalwart in prayer and steadfast. Certainly a wonderful part of our tradition. There are a great many things to be thankful for, and Penny Nutbrown, as we've told you a couple of times, has undertaken to create a chain of gratitude. Now, if you can picture little pieces of paper strung together like you might do a garland at Christmas time, that's essentially what it is. And on each one of those pieces of paper is written the expression of gratitude, thankfulness that has come from one of our parishioners or a member of the wider community. Penny emailed me earlier this week to say that the chain of gratitude is now 25 feet long. So we haven't quite encompassed the church yet, but we have extended the deadline to May the 6th. So keep those submissions coming. And Penny's email address is going to appear on the screen for you. Shane, was there anything else that we wanted to chat about?
Yeah, well, some of you might remember the Repair Cafe that we hosted earlier this year, and was a huge success and great partnership with Port Hope for the Future. And there's, in the latest edition of the Anglican, is a nice article among all the other articles about things going on during the pandemic, but a nice article about that event at St. John's, which was really a great success. And I'm finding now that I'm not going out as much that I am fixing things around the house is my first inclination, as opposed to throwing them away and going to the store and buying something new. So I'm gaining a new appreciation for the whole idea behind the Repair Cafe.
Certainly, yeah, and I can tell you, without being too prideful about it, that Repair Cafe has made some noise, I think, around the diocese, not just in the Anglican, although having that article is certainly an expression, but a number of my colleagues, a number of our fellow Anglicans saw this advertised on Facebook and other social media sites and said, what a great idea. So I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't partly responsible for starting a trend. Of course, this time as spring bursts into bloom is a time that a lot of us are thanking God for the goodness of his creation, and certainly thinking about our role as stewards. So we, I think when we're through this time and we're able to gather again, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more repair cafes popping up, and we can take I think a quiet satisfaction in the fact that we got the ball rolling there. So that's a wonderful thing. Well, my friends, I want to say God bless you, and I hope so much that you're doing well in this time. Please be assured of our prayers for you as we continue in this strange situation. But I find my spirit so lifted by the opportunities that we have to come together online. And I'm so grateful for the prayers of all of the people of St. John's and all the messages of support that we've been receiving for our efforts here. Thank you very much. It really does mean a lot. God bless you this week, and we'll see you again soon.